matters as is part of constitutional legislative process, and exactly that is what is going on. Recent media reports and public discussions on the Finance Bill 2026 are an important part of this process. So the National Treasury, however, notes that some commentary has mixed proposals contained in the current Finance Bill with past proposals and interpretations that do not accurately reflect the contents and intent of the Finance Bill of 2026. The National Treasury therefore wishes to clarify or to provide the following clarifications on certain tax proposals contained in the Finance Bill of 2026 and matters that have been inaccurately reported in sections of the media. But before I go into the specific details, I want to just point out two things. Number one, I have read some screaming headlines from some media houses, punitive tax measures. And then I get interested because I'm the one who actually drafted and submitted the Finance Bill, and I asked myself, which are these punitive tax measures that I'm not aware of? So let me read. And when I start reading, I see nothing. So I am really curious, what is really happening? Because someone says punitive tax bill, and then when you go into the details, they don't highlight those punitive or so-called punitive tax measures. Then I ask myself, is it politicizing the Finance Bill of 2026, which I don't want to allow to happen? Because, again, we must be a responsible nation. If there is a problem with the Finance Bill 2026, let's point it out, and then we deal with it. But let us not politicize. And in the spirit of that politicization, and that is what even now made me interested in addressing this matter again. I watched one of the leading lights in this country in terms of opposition politics, former vice president actually, someone who has been a minister in the government for so many years and has been an MP for 28 years, decides to mislead the public. First, I watched his press conference, I think it was a press conference, and he said, reject the Finance Bill. So I was waiting to hear why would Kalonzo, of all people, ask for the Finance Bill to be rejected. Then he says that there are hidden provisions in the Finance Bill, and that one of them is that there will be no leasehold, that you will be taxed on leasehold property. And Honorable Kalonzo is a lawyer. I wish he could point out in the bill that is before the National Assembly, the clauses that are there, any clause that talks about leasehold land or freehold land and taxation. I have the bill with me, and the bill runs, the bill is a very easy to read bill, and it runs from page 953 to page here is 1074, and there is nowhere in this bill that talks about taxing land, freehold, leasehold, whatever hold. There is nothing here. Can Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka tell the people of Kenya the particular clause in the bill that we submitted to the National Assembly, which is being discussed now publicly, where it has touched on taxation of land or freehold or leasehold? I guess the Honorable Kalonzo wants to be the president of Kenya at one point. That is his ambition. He would not want, when he proposes or his government proposes a bill for raising revenue or tax-raising measures or revenue-raising measures to the National Assembly, for people to come and bring propaganda. To me, it is irresponsible of a leader of such stature to propagate propaganda, because I know he knows that is lying. Why would he lie to the people of Kenya that Finance Bill 2026 contains such a provision and it is not there? That is irresponsible politics. But let me just point out the second issue. that we are alive to the fact that the options of raising more taxes are limited, because Kenyans have complained loudly before of high taxation. We are also aware that we are limited options in borrowing money to finance our budget, which continues to increase, especially as a result of debt service cost. Therefore, we are very innovative and creative in this finance bill. How? We are focusing, and we've gone back to the basics of taxation. The basics of taxation ensures equity, ensures fairness, and ensures simplicity. Therefore, the proposals in this bill are going to enhance simplicity to help us in tax administration. Fairness. Let everyone who is supposed to pay tax pay their fair share of tax and pay it fairly. Equity. Let us treat people equally. If you're making money and you're paying tax, pay. Another person who is making money should also pay his fair share or her fair share of tax. That is what is in this bill. And that is what we are pushing forward. And that is what we are asking Kenyans to support. Don't accept to pay tax and your neighbor is not paying tax, and they have the capacity, they have the ability, and they're making income. That is the kind of fairness, that is the kind of equity that you need in an economy. And our national tax policy is very clear on equity, on fairness, and inclusion in terms of paying taxes. So let me now address some of the issues that have not been accurately reported on. And when I finish, you can raise questions. Number one is the 25% excise duty on mobile phones. 25% excise duty on mobile phones. I want to address this issue because it keeps on recurring and coming back. In the debate in the social media, not alternative media, every media has been mentioning this. So this is my response. Public discussion has particularly focused on the proposed 25% excise duty on mobile phones, with some commentary framing the proposal as taxation targeting the youth, digital access, and online livelihoods. The National Treasury, however, wishes to clarify that the proposal does not introduce a new tax on mobile phones. Mobile phones are currently subject to multiple domestic taxes and levies during their importation and along the supply chain, which include the following. There is 16% VAT on all mobile phones. There is 10% excise duty as we speak. So excise duty is not new. There is already 10%. There is 25% import duty on mobile phones. There is 2.5% import declaration fee. And finally, there is 2% of railway development levy. These taxes and levies cumulatively create an aggregate tax burden of approximately 55.5% within the current mobile phone taxation framework. 55.5%. On the contrary, the proposal under the Finance Bill 2026 seeks to simplify. So simplicity that I talked about seeks to simplify the existing structure by replacing the current fragmented framework with a single 25% excise duty collected upon activation of the phone. And I have explained this before, that at the moment when the phone arrives at the point of entry, all these levies and taxes are charged. The customs duty, 25%. Excise duty, 10%. There is VAT at the point of landing here, 16%. There is import declaration fee of 2.5%. And there is 2% of railway development levy. All that is charged when the phone arrives. Now, immediately the phone leaves the port of entry, there are other taxes, because it is followed along the supply chain until it reaches the consumer or the customer. VAT will be charged at every single step. And you see the danger with that, and we have explained, is that phones that are brought and put in the store, which have not been sold, the vendor has already paid taxes, reducing their liquidity. We are saying we are replacing all that complicated system with a simple one, where you bring the phone, there is no tax, there is no charges, there is no levy, but the time the phone is bought and is being activated is when you pay one single tax, that is excise duty at 25%. Tell me how that makes phones more expensive than the current arrangement. So if enacted, mobile phones will no longer be subject to 16% VAT, 2.5% import declaration fee, and a 2% railway development levy under the proposed framework. The 25% import duty will also be removed upon implementation of the new tax regime, thereby simplifying the tax structure and lowering the overall domestic tax burden applicable to mobile phones. The proposal was therefore primarily conceived as a tax simplification and rationalization measure rather than the introduction of a new tax on digital access. The National Treasury recognizes that mobile phones increasingly serve as essential tools for communication, education, financial access, online businesses, digital work, and youth economic participation, which explains the heightened public interest surrounding the proposal. So I want to stop there on mobile phones. That is a clarification we can give. It is so clear. It is so flowing. It is so simple. I don't know why this issue must always be debated when we have provided clarity. Why one would want us to have multiple taxes all over the place for mobile phones and cause people who are trading in mobile phones to pay taxes for phones they have not even sold, when we are saying, please allow us to only collect one tax at the time the phone is sold and is ready for use. The second one, and this one is also addressing the issue of equity and fairness. That is the reporting requirements for virtual asset service providers. That is another one that keeps on coming up. So the Finance Bill of 2026 proposes the introduction of a reporting framework for virtual asset transactions through amendments to the Tax Procedures Act. Before I even proceed, it should be noted that virtual assets is a new phenomenon in town. It's a new concept in town. And anything new and it is producing revenue and producing income must also be subjected to tax in the spirit of fairness and equity, because there are other traditional businesses which are paying taxes. Why would new businesses be excluded from paying tax? So traditional businesses and financial transactions already operate within established accounting, record keeping and reporting systems, which make it possible to determine ownership, identify transactions, and facilitate administration of the tax system. The rapid growth of the digital and virtual asset transactions has, however, created a gap within the existing legal framework due to the absence of clear reporting obligations governing such transactions. So the proposal, therefore, seeks to apply reporting and record-keeping principles that are already common within traditional financial and commercial activities to the emerging virtual asset sector. We are just recognizing that there is a new kid in the block, a new sector coming in, virtual assets. They should be brought into the reporting system and reporting framework so that they also pay their fair share of taxes like other traditional financial and commercial activities. This proposal is intended to improve clarity, support effective administration of the tax system, and align the legal framework with the evolving digital and financial environment. Let me now clarify on card payment related fees, because this is another hot area that has been talked about. The Finance Bill of 2026 seeks to clarify the tax treatment of fees charged on digital payment and card transaction services. Over time, digital payment systems have grown rapidly through the use of mobile applications, payment platforms, software systems, and card payment networks. This has created uncertainty on whether some of these technology-based services should be treated as exempt financial services or ordinary commercial services for tax purposes. The proposal in the bill, therefore, seeks to provide clarity and ensure consistent treatment of fees charged on digital payment processing and card transaction services. The amendments are also intended to provide clarity following recent court decisions relating to taxation of fees arising from card transactions and digital payment platforms. Now, let me explain this a bit. You see, for example, the Visa card and the MasterCard. There are these people who provide these platforms to the banks. And banks charge interchange fees. Now, when these people are paid by the banks, are they supposed to just enjoy that income without paying tax? That's a question we should ask ourselves. For example, you and I, when we go to the bank to borrow money, we are charged. If you are the one borrowing money, you will pay with interest, but you are charged processing fees, whatever fee you are paying. Yet someone is seated somewhere. Most of them are not even citizens of this country, and they give a service, and they are paid. The banks pay them, and you are saying we should not ask for any tax from them. Is there fairness there? Is there equity? Is there equity? But you see, it would have been very easy to just tax them, but the court made a determination that the interchange fee does not fall within royalty and management and professional fee. Therefore, we are bringing them into that definition to remove that ambiguity, so that when they make money out of this platform that they are giving to the banks, then they would pay. Now, there has been the question that has come up about Safaricom. We have made it very clear to Safaricom and even Airtel that they are not falling here, because what they provide both. They are both, Safaricom is both payment service provider and owns the platform. So they don't fall among the people who are trading. You have a platform and you're trading with another. You're making income. Now for Safaricom, they have their own platform. So there is no ambiguity there. There will be no taxation on such. So I think that is also another area that needed some clarity. Withholding tax on digital content monetization has also been talked about. Withholding tax on digital content monetization. This is my response. I wish to clarify that the Finance Bill of 2026 does not contain a proposal introducing a 5% withholding tax on digital monetization, contrary to some media reports and commentary. I think they have gone back to Finance Bill of 2024. Let them check the title, the heading, the headline. We are on 2026 Finance Bill. It doesn't have that withholding tax on digital content monetization, which is being talked about at 5%. May I give some distinction between the Finance Bill 2026 and earlier tax proposals? The National Treasury wishes to clarify that several issues currently being discussed in sections of the media and public debates, particularly matters associated with the withdrawn Finance Bill of 2024, are not contained in the Finance Bill of 2026. These include proposals relating to VAT on bread. It is nowhere in our bill. Motor vehicle circulation tax is not in the Finance Bill of 2026. For emphasis, I'm just reading this for emphasis that VAT on bread, motor vehicle circulation tax, access to mobile money transaction data, and the eco levy proposals on funds are not in the finance bill of 2026. Those are historical things of 2024. We are in 2026. Okay? May I lay some emphasis again? Taxing money transfers through platforms such as M-Pesa and PesaPal. Whereas the VAT Act expressly exempts listed financial services, it does not address the VAT treatment of modern digital intermediaries such as payment service providers and other technology-based platforms that facilitate money transfer and financial transaction. Specifically targeted at the digital services that are ICT-driven as opposed to the traditional financial services such as cash deposits, withdrawals, forex exchange, etc. It is worth noting that we had a discussion with Safaricom on Friday last week and explained that they are not among those we are targeting with the new proposals. Second last, introduction of withholding tax on card transactions such as Visa cards. This is being proposed at 0.01%, very modest amount. So interchange fees and fees paid by banks to card companies are not considered management, professional, or royalties under the current law. That is what I explained. A recent court ruling pronounced that these payments do not attract withholding tax. This is creating a gap in taxing income from card payments, as this income is not classified anywhere for tax purposes. To address this gap, the Finance Bill has defined management, professional, and royalty fees to include these fees. This therefore provides clarity following judicial interpretation as well as enhanced revenue collection through expansion of the tax base. Now, if these providers of these cards are Kenyans, the withholding tax of 0.01% is only helping us in enhancing visibility so that we can see them, because it's not a final tax. Withholding tax is actually an advance tax, saying you are paid this, you will pay the rest. So even if you don't pay withholding tax at time, it does not remove you from tax liability. You will still pay the tax. But withholding tax helps in ensuring that the moment you pay withholding tax, then now you can easily be visible. That is what we are trying to enhance. Now, for those who are not Kenyans, the offshore, obviously, it will be the final tax because you will not go after them again. So we should encourage actually withholding tax on these services, especially for those who are not Kenyans, because then they will be benefiting and profiting from our economy without any support to the infrastructure of that economy. Because for economy to thrive, there must be infrastructure. For them to do business with us, there must be infrastructure. And someone pays for that infrastructure. Why should Kenyans pay for infrastructure and you come from elsewhere and benefit from it and take all the income that you get without leaving a portion of it back at home? Finally, on 5% reduction in payee, I believe this one follows the earlier proposal of making the first 30,000 employment income exempt, though this did not make it to the finance bill and is still being explored by the technical teams. The National Treasury remains committed to maintaining a balanced fiscal framework that supports revenue mobilization, economic growth, investment, innovation, and long-term economic sustainability while taking into account prevailing economic conditions and public concerns. The National Treasury, therefore, encourages continued constructive public participation on the Finance Bill 2026 through the ongoing implemented process, and I will still lead some public engagements going forward. Beginning even tomorrow, I think I will have a major public engagement in Nairobi, which we will announce shortly. But let me conclude by saying that I welcome constructive engagement, but I don't welcome propaganda. I don't welcome propaganda, especially where propaganda is coming from senior leaders in this country. Let us call out some of these leaders because they should not stir unnecessary emotions. We have really gone to great lengths to balance off things, to ensure that Kenyans are not overtaxed. And at the same time, we have a budget to support. Therefore, please don't bring propaganda into the finance bill of 2026. Don't hype emotions unnecessarily. When you hype emotions and you take people to the street out of propaganda, some people will have their property destroyed. Some people may lose their lives. That is not the country we want to lead. I would not mind if people protest in the street if something is wrong with the finance bill. But if there is nothing wrong, please accept there is nothing really wrong. And let us pass the bill as it is. If there is any amendment, please bring it out. What happened with the legislation? Finance bill is actually in parliament to be legislated. Some of the leaders talking about it and saying reject have their MPs in parliament. Let those MPs file amendments which they think is offensive about the bill, and I will support. But as it is, no one has come forward to address me with concrete evidence that the bill that we took to the National Assembly has issues. That is why now you hear leaders as senior as Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, His Excellency Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, now talk about something that is nowhere in the bill, just to whip up emotions and take people to the streets for his own selfish interest, thinking that that is what would motivate people to start singing with him one time. It doesn't work out that way. Kenyans are intelligent. They will know that you want to misuse them. Where is that your leasehold that you are talking about in the bill? Kenyans are not stupid. They read the bill. And they will know that your interest is not about the bill. Your interest is not about the economy. Your interest is about having Ruto out of power and sitting there, probably without even knowing what exactly you want to do once you get into power. Because if you cannot even read the bill, which I have submitted to the National Assembly, and interpret it correctly, and highlight the flaws in the bill, you bring your own propaganda, and you want to lead the country as a president, for heaven's sake, I am convinced beyond reasonable doubt, and I'm sure a majority of Kenyans are with me, that you have no clue and ability to lead this country. I don't think that is being arrogant. I don't think that is being a condescending attitude, but I am just calling you out for what it is. This is a bill that Kenyans need. In this bill, we have so many provisions, including giving tax amnesty to Kenyans who are struggling. Yes, they owe us money, but that money, that amount that they owe us, has attracted penalties and interest. And at a time when the economy is struggling, everybody is crying for liquidity. We are giving people amnesty to pay only the principal sum. You are saying reject. How are you going to ensure that those people have liquidity in their pockets? And you are the same people who are calling for us to ensure that Kenyans have money in their pockets. This same bill is cushioning those Kenyans who are getting pension, who are beneficiaries of pension benefits, whose parents have died, people who cannot support themselves, who are likely to be taxed or are being taxed. We are saying those people should not be taxed going forward. You are calling for Kenyans to reject this bill. How are you going to help those people? And you are calling them to reject this bill. Why? Because of your own selfish interest, camouflaging it, and sugarcoating it with the propaganda that is not even in the bill. Was I too harsh to anyone? Yeah, but I think it was important because really we took time. By the way, processing finance bill is not a day's event. It's not a week's event. It's not even a month's event. My team has been on this thing for months, working on this. You don't want people to spoil it with unnecessary propaganda here and there. And the worst part of it is you are exposing our economy to serious danger. People will go to the street to start demonstrating, start looting, destroying property. Then some people will be killed. The police officers who are trigger hungry, people who are control may start shooting our young people for nothing, for things that are not in the bill, propaganda propagated by people who are irresponsible. Is that something that those of us who are in positions of leadership, we should tolerate? My answer is no. That is why I have to call out these people for what it is. Questions? Yes, do I have a pen? Yeah, I have one. Yes, Brian. I'll start with you, Brian.
If I'm in the initial media group,
Yeah.
I'll ask all my 3 questions here so I don't have to come back.
3?
Yeah.
But make sure you answer in 2 minutes or 1 minute.
All right. So the first on the VAT on payment service providers, I would like to know how Airtel and M-Pesa would sit out, because the interpretation being read by the tax consultant is that M-Pesa and Airtel money would fall in the same category as the PayPals and cellulars in terms of treatment here. I don't know how they would end up outside that scope. So we will give further details, and I'd like to...
And Rispa and Mwenda, note, you will also...
has been helpful in offering some context, so we tried to present as much as what also he shared with us from the same...
My director, Mwenda?
Your director budget here.
And you will do it again?
Yes.
Yes, number 2?
Can differentiate that. Number 2 is on pay. I think a lot of that is emerging within public participation. You did mention there's a technical working committee. I'd like to know where their work has gotten so far. And will we see an inclusion of any revisions in this finance bill? I mean, Kenyans are really keen to know whether that happens. Number 3, the last one. You are the exchange in the morning. I couldn't ask you this question, so I'll ask you here. The roads bond, like ARB, where does it sit? The goal of to bring it to the exchange and put this bond. Thank you.
I think, let me take others, because the questions that you have asked, maybe let me take others. Let me take about 3. Sindio? That's okay? Before I come to Bloomberg. Yes.
My name is Vincent, also from Nation. I also have just a couple of questions. And the first one is on the taxation on mobile phones. So I don't know if you can categorically say that the simplification of the tax process will actually bring down the cost of mobile phones ultimately. And linked to that, there's been growing concern about taxation of external satellite internet providers. In this case, especially Starlink.
Pardon?
I'm saying there's been growing concern across the continent about taxation of external or foreign satellite internet providers. And the concern is that they draw a lot of revenue from our countries, but they're not taxed enough. So I don't know what is the plan. I know there's nothing in this finance bill about that, but I don't know what's the plan going forward to tax that. And lastly, KNBS published a report in December that said our fiscal policies actually increased poverty by around 2.7%. So I don't know what is the plan to try and overcome that, so that our fiscal policies in the long term and short term is going to actually reduce poverty instead of increasing it.
Yeah, Bloomberg.
Thanks, David Abdul from Bloomberg News. 2 questions. One, in light of what is happening in the Middle East and its effects on the economy, do you think there's scope to redo the 2026-2027 budget, perhaps to cut, your expenditure in line with, the expected lower, economic growth and lower revenue? Is that something that you're thinking about? Secondly, oil marketers are complaining that, the government has not paid them, subsidy arrears amounting to about 20 billion shillings. Where do you stand in terms of this? How might you owe them? Where do you stand with this question?
Yeah, so Mwenda or Rispa, you will address the issue again on VAT on payment service providers. On payee, I think my team has concluded their work. They have presented their report to me. It is now at a point of making a decision. We have to make a decision. Whether, of course, when I talked about this matter, I said there are implications, because it's going to leave us with a budget hole. So we have to take a decision, and that's a decision that's now for me upwards. It's not for them. It's for me to take, and I will take that decision. On The bond of Kenya Roads Board, I need to check because I've not gotten any indication on when that issuance will be made. Vincent, because I've left you one of your questions, the VAT on payment services, to be addressed by Mwenda or Respa. On mobile phones, again, whether I should give guarantee, logically, if taxes are coming down, the mobile phones should be trading cheaply, unless they were being smuggled. There are people who have been smuggling phones and selling to you. Those ones, I don't know how their prices will be affected. I'm talking of formal economy, where you bring your phone today, you are charged 55.5% on the cost of the phone that you have brought. Now, that will come down to 25%. Obviously, the phones should be trading cheaply, yeah, with this introduction. I hope I've answered that very clearly. If this bill passes with that provision, the phones should be cheaper. On external satellite internet providers, I wish you brought that suggestion to my team when they were processing the finance bill. But maybe you can discuss it with Mwenda. If it is something that they agreed to, it's something we can take up and maybe propose an amendment to Parliament. Fiscal policy reducing poverty. We have a challenge with fiscal policy. I have explained before that looking at our revenue and looking at our expenditure, our budget has become so rigid and inflexible that you don't even know where to cut. In fact, that also will answer the question by David. But I would say we are doing whatever it takes to make sure that the resources are targeted to poverty reducing services. And that is why you can see the budget, we are putting more money in social cash transfer, more than the other years. Now it's about 25 billion. We are putting more resources in other social services like health, providing health. Education is consuming a big part of our budget. Yeah, that is the only way to reduce poverty, to target areas that would support social services. So that is the only way and that is why we are trying to take out commercially viable projects from the budget so that they are supported elsewhere to give us room to support this intervention that would help reduce poverty. If you look at the budget, we have cut, and I'm appearing before Parliament this afternoon, before the Energy Committee, to explain why we have reduced the development budget of Ministry of Energy and Petroleum. And the answer I have is simple, that many of the projects that are being implemented by the various agencies under the Ministry of Energy are commercially viable. We should take them out. That is why we are creating the National Infrastructure Fund. We should not just be talking, we must now act by removing some of those projects out and have them settled somewhere. Either get the funding from national infrastructure or go to through the PPP model and be financed there. David, I'm happy you have asked about the Middle East and effects on the economy, and how I wish you were louder in telling Kenyans that there is a problem in the Middle East. You know, when we just when the strike was just called off, then is when I saw a story running in almost many media houses how there is no fuel in Ethiopia, there is no fuel in Mozambique, there is no fuel in Burundi, there is a problem here, there's a problem there. Yeah? And when we were telling people that, look, you are talking about the price. There are places where there is no fuel. The pumps are dry. Some of our leaders, irresponsible leaders, are calling on us at this point in time to discontinue G2G. That would be the most reckless decision a government would make at this time, when at least with the G2G, we have a contract that guarantees supply. You are telling us to discontinue. I think those guys are just suicidal people. They want us to commit suicide. How do you do that? How do you suggest that? Irresponsibility of the highest order. Yeah? Maybe they could have said that before. Now, in the middle of crisis, you are telling a country that has at least guaranteed some supply that we should now discontinue and liberalize. You liberalize to who? Where will they get fuel? If Saudi Aramco cannot get fuel and bring to Kenya, if ADNOC, Abu Dhabi National Oil Corporation, cannot find fuel and bring to Kenya, if ENOC, Emirates National Oil Corporation or company, cannot find fuel, where will small business people find fuel? My friend, I don't know whether some people take their time to really think. Because to me, those are not leaders who think. If you are telling Kenyans to discontinue G2G today, you are not a thinking leader. In fact, you should not even, it is a shame even to say you want to lead this country. Please let these people stop that kind of joke. Yeah. So, but anyway, what I was answering, my friend, is will we redo the budget? We still don't know. You know, you can decide to redo the budget now. And this war protracts and continues for another 1 year. How will you respond? I think it is early. We are monitoring the situation as it is. But obviously, it's going to hit all economies. Look, all economies are revising their projections downwards in terms of economic growth. Even Kenya, we are already lowering it. When have we gone to 4.8 officially, or you are suggesting that? 5% for now, but we will go down. So, but let my team work on it. I don't want to interfere with my technical team. Let them work on it, present it to me, convince me with facts that this is now the projected economic growth, and we will communicate it. The moment the projected economic growth comes down, what will happen? Revenue projection will come down. And if revenue projection is down, how do you finance the same budget? Either by borrowing or taxation. We have no option to come for more taxes. Borrowing is another no-go zone. So what is the other option left? Cut the budget. So however painful it is, we may go that route and cut the budget. But for now, it is too early to say that, because we must be sure even for how much, with what margin are we cutting the budget. And this budget, can I again repeat, this budget, my friends, is so rigid. We are projecting, Mwenda with his team projected to me, and I carried that, 3.63 trillion revenue to be collected. That 3.63, 1.5 trillion debt repayment. That one you cannot even negotiate. It is there. And we are praying and working hard that the shilling remains stable. That is again why I'm saying those who are calling on us to discontinue G2G, you want to this economy you want us to commit suicide with this economy, and we will not allow it. The shilling, we don't want the shilling to depreciate unnecessarily, because that would raise the price or the cost of servicing our debt from 1.5 trillion to a higher figure. But for now, 1.5, leaving you with about 2.1. That 2.1, 1 trillion goes to paying salaries, not negotiable. You remain with about 1.1. 420 will go to counties, minimum. You remain with less than 700 billion. CDF will take another 61 billion. Then cash transfers to the elderly, 25. Primary health care will be 19. Then there is fertilizer subsidy, 18 billion. There will be emergency, chronic and critical, 4 billion. Capitation to 3-day secondary school, 54 billion. Capitation to JSS, 31 billion. Capitation to primary school, 7 billion. I have not even gone into buying equipment for our security. KDF, you know, the budget for KDF is about 200 and something billion. The entire but that includes salaries. The entire budget for security, including salaries, 566 billion. My friend, where is the money? Where do you even cut? So sometimes you shout very loudly, cut the budget, cut the budget. I'm looking at you, I'm like, oh, okay. Maybe you don't know what I know. Cutting this budget is very difficult. It is inflexible, it is rigid. We have boxed ourselves here. We must find ways of coming out of it. And the only way to come out of it is not to politicize the economy. Let's see how to manage this economy better. Yes, we have come out of some almost very unfortunate situation we almost found ourselves in. That is debt default. But we are not off the hook yet. Consistently, if we remain to the course, we will come out in a few years, maybe 6, 7, maximum 8 years, out of this mess that we are in. I want to stop there. If there is any further question, maybe 1 or 2, I'll take, then we close. Yeah, someone brought to my attention discussion around sugar cane transportation to farms, animal feeds. We are putting those items under exempt, so there will be no tax. But we are also saying that there are some provisions that were put, like transport of sugarcane was a mistake that was put in 2021, that they were put under zero rating. It's complicated. How do you even start calculating input tax on sugarcane? So to avoid unnecessary computations and complications, put them under exempt. Put the inputs also under exempt. So the net effect will be zero. So there is nothing to worry about in those lines. I think those are just sensationalists, people who are bringing issues that don't make sense at all. I want to end it there, unless one more question or 2. Maredeka.
On the OMC's,
No, but yeah, by the way, I have to ask you to also come. The oil marketing, I will check. I know there are some areas that have not been paid. It cannot be 20B, because first of all, the money we had, the budget was just about 17 billion, and we have not even exhausted it. But we will check if there is arrears, then we make sure they are paid, and we don't want. We want uninterrupted supply of fuel in this country. So we'll take any measure necessary to make sure that that is not disrupted. Mwenda, can you address the first question on VAT on payment service providers?
Yeah, thank you, CS. On the VAT on payment service, on the payment service providers, first is to observe, to note that the financial services are not subject to that VAT, and therefore money transfer services, which we define as a financial service, is not subject to that. And therefore, since M-Pesa or other like Airtel are deploying their own tools to provide that money service, those are not the target for this. Remember, if you look at our national tax policy and our medium-term revenue strategy, the objective is to make sure that everybody earning an income should pay tax. Anybody making money out of this economy should pay that money, the tax that is due to government. And therefore, those who are layering their solutions, ICT solutions, or some software layering onto that service, those are the target, to ensure that everybody pays an equal share. And that's the only way we will then ensure fairness in the system. So I'll stop there, but I'm sure I've explained to some of you, and that remains our position, and to assure you that there's going to be regulations or clarifications through the instruments that we'll issue to better clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mwenda. I think we are just done. But looking at it, ladies and gentlemen, even from the way you have asked questions, do you think there's a problem with this bill? Yeah, let's just be honest. I mean, we were here in 2023, we were here in 2024, and we are here today. Let's just be honest. I mean, if there is a problem, I will deal with it, because that is why I'm being paid by the people of Kenya. I am not paid here to just do nothing. Yes, I know I also do some little politics here and there, but I can chew the gum and scale the stairs. You know, I keep on telling people what I do with my time. What is it that you have a problem with? From Monday, Friday, I am here working and doing my work. There's nothing that has defeated me. Weekends, I do what I enjoy. It is like my hobby. And you know, remember me, I was not removed from a lecture room. I was not lecturing before I came to this office. And I was not Director General like Mwenda or any other person. I was not like RISPA collecting. No. I was in politics. You can't remove politics from me. You know, I keep on telling you, you can remove a monkey from the bush, bring the monkey home. The monkey will never be a goat. The monkey will remain monkey even whether the monkey is at home. And all the characteristics of monkey you will start seeing in your monkey that you have brought home. So I know how to balance off things, do my things here. And if there is a problem with finance bill, I am here to address it. If there is a problem with the budget, I'm here to address it. If there is any problem with anything else, I'm here to address it. I've just launched the mortgage finance company issuing a bond. That's a work I've done this morning. I'm now here. From here, I'm moving elsewhere. I'll go to Parliament. Yeah, sindio? Yes. Na siasa pia lazima nichape huko. So I was asking, do you think there is a big problem with this bill? If anyone thinks there is a problem, please put up your hand. And you are the ones who are writing those pieces in the papers. You know, let's be honest. I want us to be candid today. Let us look at each other in the face. Today I'm challenging you people. Yeah?
At the payee, they like it. At the retention pay, they like it.
It's the payee, but it's not in the bill, you know. So payee is, you are calling upon me and the government to do what we said we would do, isn't it? That does not make the bill reject. You know, I reject. I hope you are not part of that squad. You know, the reason why I was challenging you is I open a paper. I usually, I'm old-fashioned. I'm still one who wakes up and gets the hard stuff, the physical papers, start reading. And then I see headline screaming. One was punitive taxes. Punitive taxes. You know, it pricks me. I ask myself, really? Are we talking about 2020? I'm dreaming. So let me read. Then I read. So, you know, one of the papers, and I will not mention which one, probably you know. Because if I start mentioning, then I'll be accused of targeting unfairly media. And that's something that I've fought for. Independence of the media. So when I started reading punitive taxes, that was the headline, punitive. And then it says the finance bill of 2026 will be a problem, may take people back to the streets. That's the subheading. Then I go, that the first item is fuel prices. Is this my finance bill or this one is? Then it talks paragraphs karibu tano on fuel. Then brings something small on mobile phones, excise duty. And then brings a propaganda. In fact, the second one was propaganda, that taxes on rental income is going to go up from 7.5 to 10. I'm giving you an example, a real one, of one of the newspapers. Then I read, but this is propaganda. I circle that. Then the telephone, I said, this one is not understood properly. Then that was the end. So I say, these two issues is the punitive. So I wanted to come and ask you today to tell me, because you are the ones who go and report to your media houses, that taxes are punitive. Is finance bill containing punitive tax measures? Eh? Leo mukitoka hapa, and I'm not gagging the independence of the media. Mukitoka hapa, please, objectivity, 100%. And please also report that there is tax amnesty in this bill. Very positive. Yeah? And ask Kalonzo, Matiangi, and the rest. Muturi. J.B. Muturi was our speaker, and is a very good friend of mine. We were passing some of the outdated, very draconian laws in Parliament under his watch, and not even allowing us to debate. You Kenyans forget so fast. J.B. Muturi was not even allowing us to debate. We had to go and sleep on the road with our bellies, protesting. Courts were helping us to revoke some of these decisions. Today, J.B. Muturi is a reformed person. Very reformed, very liberal, democratic. Governance now, governance. Is his number one? Well, maybe he has faced his Damascus moment. He is now Paul. But if he has faced the Damascus moment, let us be truthful. That is what I'm calling for. Wacha nisiingie siasa sana. Asanteni sana. Mungu awabariki.